Hi, everyone. As someone joins, could you give me a sound check, please, and just let me know if you're hearing the output okay? That would be nice. Hi, everyone. I see some people joining now. Apologies for the full start. Could you just confirm in the comments if you're hearing me okay? Are you hearing me okay? No squirrel sound. Waiting for no squirrel sound. We hear you good. Thank you. I don't. What was that going to tell me? No squirrel. Sound is perfect. Good. Thank you. Thank you very much for those that are telling me that. Thank you. So I wanted to jump online this time of day. Firstly, I want to apologize because I'm probably going to be dripping. Just been doing a bike ride and it jumped in the shower. You know, it's like when you jump out the shower and you do things too quickly. That's what I'm doing. But I wanted to jump on at this time of day just to see if any of the OC candidates were around, because it should be early morning or sort of mid-morning, I guess, down under in Australia, let's say, in New Zealand. So if any OCers are on, that would be fine. It's probably the middle of the night for most of my regular viewers. And so, this should be a quieter session and more geared towards OC. I will start off with just an update on DV 2020 and 2021, saying really there is no update. We're just waiting for something to happen. So we're still waiting for the appeal. So let's see who's on. You're in Rwanda, but what the hell are you doing up awake at this time? But anyway, 2397 something. So when you give me your case numbers, please give me the year and the region and then the number range, because I can't tell you anything if you don't give me those things, right? Need to know which year you're from. Bill's in from OC. Thank you. That's great. If the visa bulletin went current, do you expect the same scenario of last year? No, I don't expect the same scenario of last year. Actually, last year in DV 2023, Africa went current, but no other region went current. I did make a comment today on the Telegram channel about the way I see the progress. There's about 26,000 visas have already been issued. So there's 29,000 left, right? We're not even halfway through the visas yet. We've got 4 and a bit months of issuing to go, and they could crush that number. They could get to 55,000 if they were issuing visas fast enough, but that takes them to schedule visas fast enough. Now in July so far, they've scheduled 5,400 people. Zarthisius has updated his website this evening or this afternoon, and so the latest numbers are published there, but there's 5,400 people have been scheduled in July. That means they need to schedule between 15 and 20,000 more people if they were to hit the 55,000. And I don't think they're going to do that. I honestly don't think they're going to do that. We also have a capacity problem in some of the embassies, right? Even though we've got some embassies who are doing a massive effort to schedule as many cases as they can, we don't have the full capacity to sort of get to that number. And although there are some standout embassies that are doing amazing, like Nairobi, for example, scheduled 372 cases or something for July. But even if they were to keep up that sort of pace, they could only get to about 80, 84, 85,000, even if they went at that pace. And they are by far doing better than anyone else. So I'm not expecting the last minute cancellation of appointments like we saw in DV 23, because I'm not expecting them to get to the 55,000 numbers. I'm not expecting any region to go current. Just think we have to be realistic about that. So, this is quite nice. We've only got 55 people watching right now. I normally have 200 or 300. So I can give you plenty of time and answer your questions. Okay, so, and please, if you do have questions, again, put your year, your region, and your case number, and don't repeat questions over and over, please. It just means all the questions, as you're spamming, all the questions fly by and I don't get to the questions. Okay, so Okay, Asia 2024, case number 20.7, UAE. Is there any chance? There is some chance. You're at the upper end of where I expect Asia to get to in 2024. I said back in January, I saw that there could be a cutoff as low as 17,000, but I expected it to get to about 21,000. I still sort of feel like that, although 21,000 looks a little bit more out of range now than 17,000. It looks like it's going towards the lower end of my estimations, but we'll see. It's not impossible for them to go to that range. The big thing is which embassy are you at, right? Because even if they make you current, if your embassy isn't scheduling, then you're screwed anyway, to be perfectly blunt. Any chance for OC 2851? Nikita, probably not. Realistically, I don't think we're going to get to that number. Again, my estimations back in January look to be sort of pretty much tracking exactly to form. In fact, the only region that I think I was, sort of too conservative with was Africa. In the last couple of months, I've adjusted my thinking up to Africa getting to about 75 to 80,000. But other than that, all the other regions, I'm pretty comfortable with the estimates I gave in January. They're coming true, basically. Bacco Eric says, thanks for good work. When can I expect 2NL 2024 case number 44K from Cameroon, Abu Dhabi? Okay, so you're from Cameroon, but you're at Abu Dhabi, right? So I would hope to see you scheduled in the next bulletin. Can't be 100% sure. You'll just have to wait and see, obviously, but fingers crossed for you. AF 2397. I'm sorry for not mentioning the year before. Great, thank you. So you're saying you're a 2025 AF and a really low case number 2397. So if your number is 2397, you don't need to worry at all. That's obviously going to be current. The only question is which embassy you're at. Do you meet the requirements? Those sort of things, right? But good luck, Bertin. Asia 10K for 2024, Riyadh. When are the 2NLs usually sent? And is it normal that I didn't receive my yet, even though I'm current? Okay. When the visa bulletin comes out, at that time of the month, which is normally between the 8th and the 15th, but was on the 7th this month, as soon as the visa bulletin comes out, within a few days, we start to see 2NLs. And 2NLs can then continue until the end of the month, right? So there could be 2NLs right up until the end of the month. I was asked today whether I was happy with EU, for example, where there have been 470 2NLs. I'm not happy with 470. I think we need more, and the visa bulletin moved enough for us to get more. And so for Europe especially, I'm expecting to see more 2NLs over the next 2 weeks. So fingers crossed for that. We may see that in other regions too. There's been good 2NL sending in Africa, and overall we're doing okay. We're over 2,000 since the 7th. Over 2,000 cases, about 2,200 cases, I think, have been scheduled, about 5,400 people. But we need to see more. So I'm hoping to see another 1,000 or so 2NLs. I mean, I'm hoping so. I'm not sure that's going to happen, but that's what my fingers crossed for. Okay, DV 2020. Any chance? Yeah, we're still waiting for the appeal. We just have to wait for that. OC 2600. Wondering if I should complete the DS260 or am I likely to miss out? So shouldn't do the DS260. Kate, that's a really good question. I'm assuming you're a DV 2025. So let's talk about OC numbers since I'm here at the right time for OC. OC numbers, according to the case number survey that we've done this year, look like they end at about 3,800. And that's just case numbers. Now, if you watched the video I posted yesterday, you would know that the case number range is only half the story. Probably a more important part of the story is how many people are selected. Now, I can tell you that the number of selectees that we had in DV 2024 was insane in Oceania. Absolutely nuts, right? Case numbers went up to 5,999. There were 77% more selectees in DV 2024 than there were in DV 2023. And the number selected in DV 2023, that was already too high. So the fact that they added 77% more is nuts, right? So one way you could look at the case numbers is, and we don't know how many selectees we've got. Therefore, we don't know how many holes we've got within Oceania or any other region. But you could say, okay, let's make an assumption that the holes rate is about the same as last year, and therefore, since we have 3,800 as the highest case number, we have something like 20% less than we had in DV 2024, right? Now, that's a reasonable assumption. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's an assumption. It's a reasonable assumption we could make because, you know, the holes rate, should be about the same, maybe a little bit, less. We'll see. A little bit different. We'll see. But let's say we have 20% less than we had last year. That will still be far too many selectees. And that means case numbers in the 3,000s certainly are at risk. And probably case numbers in the 2,000s are somewhat at risk. Now, we won't know that for sure until July or August. So there's no point in, giving up or bursting into tears right now. But I think from my point of view, it's always better to be honest from the beginning and say, look, you've got to take your win with a bit of a pinch of salt. If your case number is over 2,000 or even over 1,500 in Oceania, you can't say that you're safe, right? Now, if your case number is less than 1,500, then you're certainly in the bottom half of the number of selectees, and you're probably okay. I mean, there's probably no concern for those numbers. But anything 1,500 above, really 2,000 or above, just as a rough guess, we would have to say that they are at risk. Okay, so given that, if you care about immigrant intent because of future non-immigrant visas, then you would be better off waiting to file your DS-260 until July or August, when we know how many selectees there are, and we know how risky your case number is. We won't know precisely, but we'll have a pretty good idea at that time, particularly in Oceania, about exactly how many selectees are in front of you, because Oceania is a flat region. It doesn't go down like the other regions, the other three big regions. It stays consistent throughout the range, so we can work out what the holes will be and how they'll be distributed throughout the range. So in July or possibly August, you'll know better, and you could file then. Will that be too late? No, not at all, because your case number is high anyway, right? So you're going to be waiting, even in the best possible scenario, you're going to be waiting until, let's say, July or August for an interview of next year, right? So it won't matter a damn if you don't file until, July or August of this year. You're still going to have plenty of time. So that would be my advice. Don't file yet if you are concerned about immigrant intent with your case number. I'm talking to OC 2600 case number. I'm sort of going through that in particular. That advice doesn't apply for everyone, but does apply to some. Okay. 2025 AF57K. Please recommend one of both embassy, Nepal or Jordan, based on your experience. This thing about embassies, it's not like you just get to pick and choose whichever embassy you like the look of. It doesn't work like that. KCC will schedule you based on not what you pick in your DS-260, but they'll schedule you based on where you live. They want you. They have a rule. They want you to interview where you live, and they kind of make it difficult for you to do anything else but that. Now, if you're telling me that you can live in Nepal or you can live in Jordan, then okay, yeah, you can go and do those things, and I would probably choose Nepal. But if you think you can just pick Nepal or pick Jordan, but you live in, I don't know, South Africa or something, it doesn't work like that. It's not a free choice. And even if you pick one of those embassies in the DS-260, they just ignore it. Okay. And also, once you've made your choice in the first time you submit your DS-260, you can never update that again. They can reallocate you to an embassy, but you can't. Okay, so, but anyway, so that I'm hoping that's helped. 2024, 63K Nairobi, 60K has received 2NL, hoping to receive mine too. Yeah, 61,600 has received their 2NL this week in Nairobi. 61,600. Now, 370 2NLs were sent. Nairobi's doing a great job. They will probably get to about 72, 73K next month. Maybe a little bit more than that. I expect the visa bulletin to move to probably mid-70s, and I expect Nairobi to get pretty close to where the visa bulletin is. So you'll be fine. You'll get your 2NL next month. Mbing says, thanks for the continuous info. Wish to find out if Cameroon has programmed interviews for July because my case number is 60,000 odd. Okay, let's have a quick look. Let me show you where you check, because I would rather teach you to fish than give you a fish. There's a famous saying for you. So let me present, share screen. Okay. I'm just going to check down here to make sure I've still got audio. Yeah. Okay. So there. You're seeing the screen, right? So what you do is you come for any embassy. You can do this yourself. You can come down here and just type in the embassy you're interested in seeing. And down here you can see a list of all of the dates where they received 2NLs. You can see that they received 162 last month, but they haven't received any yet at all. They received 142 in March, 121 both in February and in January, right? So we would expect them to take some more interviews, and they're currently just below 50,000, and they've got a density of roughly 20 cases per 1,000. So let's assume they take 160 in this month. Let's just assume that would move them another 8,000 case numbers. They would be at about 57, 58 maybe, something in that range, maybe a little bit less than that. So that will be next month, right? That's how things will work for next month. So for your number, AF60 at Cameroon, you're probably looking at a September interview. I'd be pretty confident about that if I were you. If I were in your situation, it's probably going to be September. So you should get in. Fingers crossed for you. Okay. Okay. Lost my vaccination card with vaccines made in childhood. Can I be proactive and take antibody tests now and take those missing before medical exam and before scheduled for interview? It depends on the country you're in. There are usually, when you go to the physician has in-country knowledge, and they know what vaccination programs happen, right? So they know that you've had the standard childhood vaccinations because they were vaccination programs. They won't know whether you've taken more recent vaccinations like COVID, and you'll have to provide proof of that. But in general, they don't just start sticking you full of needles because you don't have records, right? So you can, if you want to, go and get antibody tests, and if it shows that you don't have certain vaccinations, you would then take those vaccinations. You can do all that before the medical exam. I wouldn't do that. I would just wait until I go to the medical exam, because that's probably going to be less vaccinations than what you'll do proactively. So it's your choice, but that's what I would do. Okay. 75K Lome Togo. Please, do I have a chance of getting my 2NL? I think so. Let me just take a quick look here. Let me just have a look at Lome. I don't look at Lome enough, actually. There we go. There's a sandwich chain in the USA called Togo's. Always makes me chuckle. Okay, so let's see. Togo up to now are up to about 53,000 or so. They're taking they took 65 cases last month. They took 80 cases the month before, and their case density is around about 12 to 15. Right. So when they take 60 cases, let's say, or 70 cases, they're probably taking about 5,000 case numbers. That means that they would get to about 59,000 or so, maybe 58,000 next month, and they would struggle, frankly, to get to 75,000 now in September. Now, that's worrying for you. I get it. It's not the news you want to hear, but what could change? Well, you could see that the embassy turns around and says, hey, we got a lot of cases to schedule. We better schedule some extra cases. And maybe they do 80, maybe they do 90. And that's really what you want to see. You're going to want to see that. And actually, because we haven't seen the July ones yet, you might get a little bit of bonus because you might have 3, not 2. I was calculating 2, but you might have 3 months. So if they do, let's say 60 to 70, you get 3 months of 5,000 each time, then you're getting a little bit closer. You're at about 70 or so. So it wouldn't take much. It would take something like, let's have our fingers crossed to see something like 80 cases this month, 80 the next month, and then you're getting closer to where you need to be, right? That's the sort of level of activity you need to see from the Togo embassy to get to your number. I do think your number will go current. I'm 90% sure that we're going to see 75K current in Africa. So you've got a chance, right? Fingers crossed for you. Okay. It's Jason from South Africa. What's the time in South Africa? Well, in LA for just over a month. Okay, you're in LA. When I'm in San Fran, I'm definitely coming to visit you. Enjoying life in Cali so far. Of course, I remember your name. Thank you for coming back and saying hi. And I'm glad you're in LA. My sister is just visiting at the moment. She's just been down to San Diego. She's just driving up the California coast, and she went to Palm Springs and did a wonderful road trip. I did a Lake Tahoe trip with her. Fabulous. We're having great weather here at the moment as well. Anyway, enjoy California. Hi, Simon. Is there an explanation for the significant decline and deterioration in the performance of the Embassy of Algiers this month? My case number is 60.7. I don't have an explanation, no. No, I don't know why they've taken a low number. We have to wait and see whether they can maybe take a second batch and get those numbers back up. It is a bit weird. 57K Egyptian. Yeah, I don't know where. I can't figure out where Egypt stops, and so I don't really know what your number means relative to the rest of Egypt. I've had really bad, poor feedback on where Egypt numbers stops. So I don't know. I have no idea where your number really lies. So same point for yourself, Iyad, as well as Ahmed. 76K from Algeria. What do you think about your number? Well, yeah, you're a little bit at risk, and it's because of this. It's because of this sort of deterioration in performance that Amir just pointed out. Okay. Peter Rainey. That rings a bell. I believe I know your name. So OC 800, Sydney Post, and you're 2025. Perfect. For the last 2 years, I've been traveling, no income, living off savings. Nice. Does credit history, savings, and current income factor much into Oceania public charge assessment? No. You're at Sydney. Sydney is sort of pretty lenient about anything to do with financials because they kind of expect that people are relatively affluent compared to a lot of places in the world. And and this is me just waffling. This might not be true, Peter, but I think they also believe that Aussies do very well, which is very true, in the USA, and are very happy to just couch surf if necessary, right? It's just the Aussie spirit. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to generalize about a whole country, but they're Aussies. What can I say? So I hope you won't be offended, mate. It's not going to matter. In other words, what I'm trying to say in a long-winded way is not going to affect you. As long as you haven't spent the last 2 years completely depleting your savings down to nothing, so that now you're going to turn up looking like a bum, and you've got no money at all. As long as you haven't done that in the last 2 years, then they're not going to be worried, right? If you've still got 20, 30K left in the bank or whatever, you'll be fine. You do mention credit history. They don't check credit history. They don't check how in debt you are and that sort of thing. They don't do that. It's just simply, for most embassies, they look at some financials, but they don't really sort of say, okay, show us how big your mortgage is, how much credit cards you got. That's not the sort of thing they do. They may look at bank statements to say, what savings have you got, if you offer those bank statements. And most people in most countries use an I-134, which is an affidavit of support, a financial support from someone in the USA who is prepared to be your financial supporter. But I rarely, very, very rarely hear any Sydney interviews where they've asked for an I-134 or even bank statements. Nothing. Right, so you'll be fine. So how is Ghana so far? I hear that many moved their cases. AF, oh man, you didn't give me the year, but I can tell you in DV 2024, AF 23,000 has no chance in ACRA, because ACRA is doing a shitty job, frankly. Excuse my French, but it's late at night, so I can swear now. Yeah, it's doing a shitty job, and I'm frankly fed up with ACRA. They could do so much better. They used to do so much better, but they took 20 2NLs this month. That's not enough. They've been taking 20s and 30s so far this year. They're way behind, and we're probably not going to see any cases scheduled in DV 2024 above about 8,000, maybe 9,000. So AF 23K unfortunately has no chance in ACRA. If you're DV 2025, I think you need to take note of that. And if you've got a long lost granny who lives in some other country, then I would probably be calling granny and asking if you could move there for a few months. Maybe you don't want to do that right now, straight away, but you could do. You could sort of, move to granny's house and start working there and be there, right? And you could be at almost any other country and you'll have better chances. Don't move to Nigeria. Have a look at some of the performance of the embassies and figure out whether they're doing well. Okay. Am I late if I haven't submitted my DS260 Rwanda 2025? No, you're not late. I had a problem find a host address, but I am ready to submit this weekend. Yeah, you're fine. You're not late. There'll be people submitting DS260s as late as May of next year, right, for DV 2025, maybe even June, and they will get through, right? So you're not late right now. Don't worry about that. You might be delayed because of your low case number and slightly late submission, but that's okay. It's not a problem, right? The green cards they give out in December are just as good as the ones they give out in October and November. Okay, so they're still green. They're fine. AF75 Lome again. I think we talked about that one already. Amir, we talked about that. 67K in Nairobi chances. I already answered that. I think you've got excellent chances. Bill says, hello, Brett, from my friend. He overstayed his visitor's visa, and his wife has been selected for DV 2024, but he's kicking himself now, right? And his interview next month. Should he wait for wife in the US and adjust his status? He's still here your friend's been unwise. It's a complex one, right? It depends how long he's overstayed. If he's overstayed for more than 6 months or more than a year, he can pick up a bar, and that bar is difficult to overcome. So in a sense, he shouldn't leave the country if he's been in that time. But what I would suggest is that he should probably, your friend should probably speak to a lawyer and figure out what the plan would be, right? And yes, he could wait for his wife to come, and yes, he could try and adjust status. And depending on what his case number is or what her case number is, there might be an option. But I would speak to a lawyer if I were you. Sorry, your friend, not you. It's not you, of course. No. What? Okay, this one. Hi, sir. My case is 2024 AF 9999. Wow, that's a high case number. It's almost 1 million. I'm going to assume that you've probably typed 1 too many letters in there. Let's call it 99,000. You're from Gambia. I have to say, I mean, your case number, as you've typed it there, is really, really high. But even at 99,000, it's probably too high. I'm hoping you typed too many nines in there. But let me know. Nikita and Cam, what if you lost your immunization records? Yeah, I've already talked about that. DV 2024, 12,000 from Nepal. When do I get 2NL? I would hope you would get your 2NL in not next month, but the month after, for a September interview. That's what I'm hoping. Okay. DV 2025, case number 39K. Share are the chances to get interviewed. So for you definitely have to wait until we've seen the selectee numbers in July or August. It's impossible for me to guess your number right now because I don't know how many selectees that we have in DV 2025. You are almost one of the highest case numbers that I've heard, that I genuinely sort of believe. I think case numbers are up to about 41,000 in EU in 25. So you're one of the highest case numbers. So you're somewhere at the back of a pretty long line, but we don't know how many people are in that line ahead of you yet. We don't know how many people there are in the whole line, right? So you have to wait until July or August. All right. Good luck anyway. 2024 AF10K. When should I get to an Ghana MC? If they don't start doing more than 20 per month, then you're going to be at risk of losing out. You need to see them doing 30 and 40 next month. 40 would be better. If they don't do that, they're not going to get to your case number, I'm afraid to say. Their density is around about 22 a thousand, I think. So you can work out the numbers from there. Please, how to defend myself at the embassy on a mistake I made my name when entering the DV lottery. Example, Nelly in front instead of Nelly. Right, one letter difference, no problem at all. You don't have to defend yourself. What you have to do is make sure it's correct in the DS260. It's perfectly understandable in the DV entry to make a one letter mistake in spelling your name. I mean, I say perfectly understandable. It's a bit difficult for me to understand, I have to say, because my name has got 5 letters. So it's like, how could I get that wrong? But let's say you made a one letter mistake in your name. That's not the problem. If you've made a mistake in your name and a mistake in your date of birth and a mistake in your address, and there's like 3 or 4 mistakes going on in your entry, then they're going to assume that you were trying to conceal your true identity and that you've probably entered multiple times. But if you've only got one little mistake, and if you were wise enough to correct that in the DS260, not a problem. You don't have to worry about defending yourself. They're going to be looking mainly at the DS260, not the DV entry. Okay. Just want to thank you for the valuable information you shared. You're welcome. They were very helpful in the journey. My parents, who are in their 70s, got their visas approved. Awesome. 70. I thought I was one of the older people to come to the States. I was about 50 when I got the green card. Was I 50? Yeah, I was about 50. So awesome. They got here in their 70s. I wonder what life looks like for them. I'd love to hear more about their journey on BritSimonSays.com. If you have a chance, let me know what their plans are, because people often ask, I'm this age, can I come to the States? And I normally tell people, look, the States is a good place to come while you're working, while you're earning money. It's a great place to earn money. You can build a lot of wealth here very quickly. But there are aspects about it, like the lack of affordable healthcare, the sort of general perception that people in their 70s should still be working. It's just nuts to me. There are better countries for older people, frankly. European countries, for example, are better for older people. But on the other hand, there's some great weather here. You can live quite a long, happy, fruitful life here as long as you've got the money, right? So so maybe they'll be doing very well here. I'm really pleased to see that. Anyway, good luck to you. Good luck to your parents. Okay, DV 2025. Yeah, talked about that one. Well, I don't know that we talked about that one in particular, but we talked about a similar 39K DV 2025 number RAM. So I'll leave that with you. Ahmed, I think we talked about that. Peter, yeah, got yours. Oh, I'm sorry, Peter, you've got another question. Based on your experience, if you say no in the DS260, do you want the social security admin, blah, blah, blah? Can you receive a... Yeah. I would say, for most people, when they say yes, they want the SSN to be automatically applied for, probably it works, let's say 8 out of 10 times, maybe 7 out of 10 at worst, right? It usually works. But you have more control over the situation if you take care of it yourself. So if you take care of it yourself, you need to enter. You have to wait at least a week because they won't see you in their records yet. But once you've been here a week or so, maybe 2 weeks, you can go to the SSA, the Social Security Administration Office. It's a trip going there, kind of eye-opening about American life. But you can do that, and it's a bit more of a reliable way to make sure you're going to get control over your SSN. Because otherwise, if you tick that form and then you go to the SSA office, they say, "Oh well, you might be in the system already. You should wait until 3 weeks," and then it gets a bit slower. So Peter, it's up to you which way you apply. It depends on your plans, whether you're doing an activation trip, whether you need that SSN immediately to start work and that sort of thing. But if you are determined that you need that SSN quickly, then take control of matters yourself and go and apply yourself and have fun with that. Okay. And when you go to the SSA, by the way, same as DMV, don't take any shit from them. They will do everything they can to get you to go away. For some reason, they are the sort of government workers where, as someone comes to the window, they would rather not help that person for some reason. I don't understand why. And they give you any sort of excuse to get you to go away and come back another day and see somebody else, right? I don't know why they play that game. So you have to be fairly politely forceful and insistent, saying, "No, I arrived here a week ago. My number needs to, my details need to be in your system already. Here's my proof anyway, my passport, my visa stamp, whatever. I'd like to wait here so I can fill out the application, please." You have to be polite but firm. Don't be an asshole, but be a little bit firm, right? And as I say, don't try that on day 2. That's not going to work, and that's not fair to them. But you can try that after a week or 2 weeks if you're feeling generous. Okay. Okay. New Zealander. New Zealand citizens have an Indian overseas citizenship, not an Indian citizenship, more like permanent residence of India. Yes. Would this count as other nationality? Yes, but it doesn't make any difference. You're a Kiwi, right, by birth. So you're just listing another nationality. That's fine. I'm not technically sure whether that truly is. Let's see, it's permanent. So actually, it's not a nationality. If it's like a green card to India, then that's not a nationality. Don't list it as a nationality if it's not truly a citizenship. Okay. All right. So, okay, let's do another few questions. I'm not going to do a long session today, by the way. So I'm just going to try and go through a few questions. Ems, how are you, my thinker? How you doing, Ems? I'd love to know where you are in the world. Are you down under? You're in America? But good to see the boss balling again, says Ems. Good to speak to you. I'm enjoying our little interactions on the blog. AS 12,000 Iran, 2024 from Iran, Embassy Montreal. Any hope? Yeah, you got some hope. You have to wait and see, but you have some hope. You have some risk too, particularly if you're an Iranian male. Iranian males, more often than not, get 221G after the interview, and that's in any embassy in the world. In Montreal, they are particularly keen to give out the DS 5535, and to an Iranian, it makes it more or less guaranteed. The problem is that if you are going for a late interview in August or September as an Iranian, and particularly in Montreal, you are going to have a big risk of not having enough time to complete the 221G. So you have a chance of interview, but you have a relatively high risk. So you need to be aware of that, because the money you spend on the interview may never come through, may never pay off for you. So you're taking that risk. It's up to you whether you take that risk or not. I can only inform you, and the government wouldn't inform you of that risk. So I'm just informing you. Okay. Any hope for AS 35,000? No, because you're not telling me the year. I'm going to guess that's 2024, but you're not telling me the year, so I don't really know. But if that's a DV 2024 case number, it's very risky. I don't think we're getting there. If that's a DV 2025 number, I haven't heard of an AS region 2025 number that high. So I would be surprised. Okay, talked about that one. Any chance for 2025 OC 3063? Go back earlier, probably 10, 15 minutes ago, I talked about OC numbers in relative detail, and you do need to wait until we've got the July, August selectee numbers. It's all about that. If by chance there is a low number of selectees, and it would need to be something like less than 2,000 in Oceania, spread out over the 3,800 numbers or so, then you would have a chance. Your case number would be actually quite well positioned. You would be positioned if we say, just round off the numbers, if we said there was 4,000 case numbers in the region and they have 2,000 selectees, that means there's about 1,000 cases spread out over 4,000 pretty easily, pretty easy. And you're about 75% of the way through that case number range, a little bit more than 75%, which would put you at about 1,500 or so, right? 1,500 people in front of you. And that, I can tell you, would be actually a pretty good position, because we get, we need to see more people interviewed in OC than that. Now, all of that is based on, are we going to see a selectee number of 2,000, which would be a big reduction from where we were in DV 2024, and even less than DV 2023. So that's a pretty big ask, I have to say, but let's see. I hope so, but we'll see. What do I think of EU 36,000? I don't think anything about it, because I don't know the year. Okay, in DV 2024, that's probably out of luck. In DV 2025, I don't know, it's too early. That's basically my answer there. But please do give me a year. I want to know the case number Ghana has reached. In DV 2024, they're scheduled up to about 6,000 or so. I think. I don't know exactly, but I think it's about 6,000. Okay. Most cases were shift from ACRA-MC. Is there any chance for 23? We talked about that one. Also, what if the applicant has not completed year 12 education, but has more than 6 years of work experience? Is that a risk, or should be okay? If somebody has not met the requirement on education, they can qualify through work experience instead. But that work experience has to be 2 years out of the last 5 years at a job that itself needs 2 years of experience or education to qualify for that job. And that's a long-winded way of saying it needs to be a senior level position. It can't be an entry level position. If the job we're talking about is something where you can step in off the street and pick that job up in a couple of weeks or a couple of months even, or is completely unskilled, then it doesn't matter how much experience you've got at that job, that won't qualify you. If, on the other hand, your job is, let's say, supervisory, managerial, is something that's technical or skilled, where you need certain skills and certain experiences and certain training to get that job, then that can qualify you, right? So I'm just guessing. If you said what the job was, I could probably give you a better answer. But there is, if you Google the words Britt Simon and work experience, there's a pretty good article I wrote a few years ago on my blog that explains the way to check whether your job in particular is qualified, it meets the requirement or not. Okay. Okay. 2 or 3 more questions, then we'll call it a day, because I need to go and cook. I'm actually cooking tonight. Broccoli beef, if anyone's interested. Right, Bless from Cameroon. Do I have a chance to be called for interview with a case number of 2025 AF61K? Probably, but we don't have the selectee numbers yet, Bless, so I can't tell you 100%. What are the chances for case number 2024 EU 33,600? Still very, very risky, or risky, I would say. I shouldn't say very, very risky, but there's somewhat of a risk. I originally estimated case numbers would be as early as 31,000 cutoff. I think we'll exceed that now for EU. But I then said the sweet spot was between about 35 and 37,000. I'm hoping that I'm still right about that. They don't have to move very much to get to your number, right? About 6,000 or so. Yeah, you got possibilities. It's not very, very risky. It's a little bit risky, right? You got possibilities there. We'll have to see what they do. One thing they can do, by the way, is they can move the case number up, or they could say, hey, we're at 27,500 before, we'll just keep that number the same, because the embassies are not able to schedule to that number. So you do sometimes see no increase in the visa bulletin from 1 month to another month. Could happen, but even if that did happen, there's still a possibility of you getting current in the for the September month, right? Is it possible that Africa will become current for DV 2024? Almost impossible, I would say. I can't say impossible because who knows what could happen, right? But there's no good reason why they should make Africa current in DV 2024. There's not enough capacity, there's not enough visas, there's too many selected, and so on and so on. There's 55,000 people selected for Africa, and there's about 24,000 visas available. Do the math. I mean, you know, that's why Africa won't go current. Okay. I live in the US on another visa. Do I still have to fill out the DS-260? Good question. What I would say is don't fill out the DS-260 yet. It depends on your case number, but the DS-260 is optional for the adjustment of status process, right? So if you're doing AOS, then the DS-260 might help your case a little bit later in terms of speeding it up. You're simply telling KCC that you plan to adjust status, but it's not technically necessary. So depending on your case, if you've got a very high case number, then definitely wait until after July, August, right? Because why take the risk of filing the DS-260, which can cause problems in future non-immigrant visas, right? So, but then once July and August has passed and we know the selectee numbers, you could file it then. If you've got a very low case number, you could file it 2 or 3 months before your case number becomes current, okay? Oh, this is an interesting one. Any chance for 2024 OC 2300? Maybe. You're on the cusp of where I think that case numbers are gonna, you're on a little bit at the high end. I think we're probably gonna get to about 2200 or so in OC. But you might get lucky. We'll have to see. Good luck to you. Okay. Let's just see. Another OC. Have info if Auckland is a good consulate to select for interview. Yeah, it's great. But you select that because you live in New Zealand, right? That's how your embassy is selected. It's not really you select it. It's based on where you live, okay? Most of host advice or force newcomers to work in caregiver, okay, as a starter. Oh, that's interesting. But for I would like to continue with my heavy equipment operator. Is it possible? It's really up to you, right? You should discuss that with a potential host prior to you coming there. If their idea is that they will host you, but then they control you in terms of what work you do and maybe take the money and that sort of thing, That sounds a bit like slavery to me. I don't think that's a fair relationship. If, on the other hand, they're offering to help you with finding a job, and and that's fair enough. But if you've got skills in heavy equipment operating, that's a very well-paid job. Why the hell would you do something that somebody else wants you to do? So it's really up to you to put your foot down and say, well, I don't mind being a caregiver, for the first 2 or 3 weeks or whatever, until I find a job more suited to me. But don't give up an extremely lucrative livelihood because a host wants you to, to be a caregiver for them or family member or something like that. Okay, we don't have slavery in America anymore. Don't give in to that nonsense, right? Okay. Let me see if I can quickly find one more. Okay, 2025 OC24 high case number. Yes, it's a little bit high, but yes, you have to wait for July or August to see the number of selectees. Okay, and I would suggest you wait until you see those numbers if you care about immigrant intent. If you don't care about future non-immigrant visas, go ahead and fill it out now if you want, but you'll fill it out now and it will be waiting for a long time anyway. So there's no real advantage at your case number level to filling it out early, right? You may as well just wait. Okay. ACRA has disappointed us again. EU 5,300 didn't get to PL. I've calculated the numbers for ACRA. They're going to continue to disappoint people. They've got a huge number of people per 1,000. And they're not releasing enough interviews. That's what's going to happen. It's not really a surprise. Very frustrating at your case number. You have a chance though at your case number. You'll have to wait and see. I have fingers crossed for you. Okay, one more question here. Looks like Sarah's. Sarah, I think you've been asking questions on my blog, and you're a thinker like Em's, right? Are people in the line before 39K, as you discussed, known and published, or just hypothetically analyzed by the total selectees? Okay, the order of events, right? On May, when we got the results, we knew nothing about DV 2025. We didn't know the number of selectees. The case number survey now has given us case number ranges, which I'm reasonably confident about, but not 100% certain. It looks like EU is about 41,000, but there are a few people who've reported numbers higher than that. I suspect they're from DV 2024. I think it's probably mistakes, but nevertheless, I could be wrong about the number. It might be a bit higher than I thought, right? But that's only half the story. And yes, the selectee numbers is the next most important thing, and we find out that in July or August. And then we don't know anything else. We're only dealing with hypothetical situations or analysis, and it's guesstimates until January 1 of 2025. On January 1 of 2025, we have access to the SEAC data, the SEAC database, and a clever guy called Zarthisius extracts all of the data for all of the cases, and we see the exact distribution of cases. We don't know every country, but we know all the regions at that point. We know all the data for all the regions, and we can get really, good information at that time. We still don't know, even in January, exactly where the final case number will be cut off, right? That's still speculation, and it will remain speculation until July of 2025. And in July of 2025, we'll see the last visa bulletin, and that's when we'll know where the cutoff is. We won't know until then, okay? So it's like a slowly revealed picture. We get a little bit of information, and you'll drive yourself nuts trying to figure everything out over the next year. And, but at least in July or August, you'll know, roughly speaking, you would know if you've got no risk. So if we see a number of selectees globally at around about 100,000 or less, then happy days, everyone's going to get current. It's wonderful. If the number is more like 110, 120,000 selectees, then it's like, okay, something's going to give. If it's 130, 140,000, then I'm just going to come right out and say it and say no region's going to go current. It's as simple as that. And if no region goes current, and you're at the back of a 41K line, and you've got 39K, then you are at risk. It's as simple as that, right? So you will know, based on the number of selectees, you will have a pretty good idea of where you stand in July or August, but not perfect, okay? All right, everybody, I'm going to call that a day. Thanks for everyone that joined me today. I'm glad to see a few OCers. I know timing is not normally great for you, so I'm sorry about that. But hopefully this evening session, it's evening my time, has been useful for you. All right, everyone, give me a thumbs up on the video if you can, please. Do subscribe to the channel. If you're not subscribed to this channel, what are you going to do with your life? Like, how would you know anything? All right, everybody, have a great day. Bye-bye.